Should I give my boyfriend another chance after he didn't stand up for me? This happened a couple of weeks ago. My, female 22, boyfriend, male 26 of 7 months, invited me to go out on a boat with him and his friends. Typically, this would be an immediate no. I am terrified of the ocean, specifically the open ocean. I can do ankle-deep beach water, but not boats. However, the boat was being rented by my boyfriend's childhood best friend, Peter, who I had never gotten to meet. Peter moved across country before the boyfriend and I started dating, and he was back in town. My boyfriend was adamant that I go so he can introduce his 2 favorite people. I felt like I really couldn't say no to that, so I agreed, but told him there was no way I was getting in any water and reminded him that this is a genuine fear for me. He promised I could stay in the boat, no problem. When we got to the dock, his friends were already sat on what I would guess was a 20-foot boat. Nice size, but not big enough for my safety concerns. Still, I took a deep breath and got in. I was trying to look calm, but guess I was visibly anxious because the first thing Peter asked me was if I was nervous. I said yes, just a little, and my boyfriend chimed in and said, "She's scared of water," which kind of got on my nerves, since I spent about 30 minutes explaining to him how it was more than that, but whatever. Peter didn't really say anything in response, but I thought I caught a taunting look in his eye. I told myself I was just paranoid because of my heightened anxiety, and just took my seat. I kept my eyes closed as we pulled away from the dock, and tried to keep my breathing steady. I did not want to have a panic attack in front of my boyfriend's friends. Once we were to our spot and anchored, I relaxed into the situation a little more. The water was calm, and we were just chatting, drinking, and overall having a good time. After about 30 minutes, Peter stood up, took off his shirt, looked directly at me, and announced it was time to go swimming. My blood immediately turned cold. I tried to laugh, and I told him I was just going to stay in the boat because the ocean isn't really my thing. Peter got that weird look in his eye again, and it gave me a really uneasy feeling. The next thing I know, he had grabbed me and threw me into the air before I could even react. I let out a blood-curdling scream as I hit the water. It all happened so fast. I know how to swim, but I felt like my body was shutting down. I just kept kicking and screaming and reaching for the boat. I felt like I was in the water for hours, but it was probably a minute before my boyfriend reached down and pulled me back into the boat. I immediately collapsed to the floor and started gagging. I was also crying a lot. I felt so embarrassed, but I just couldn't stop. I looked around for my boyfriend, and he was just sitting there looking at me. I wanted to ask him why he wasn't doing anything, but I couldn't get my words. I was just hyperventilating and crying. And he says, "Geez, it's not that big of a deal. You were in the water for a second," Peter said. I again looked at my boyfriend, and all he said was, "I told you she was scared," and shrugged. "Take me back," I finally demanded. Peter resisted at first, but after a few more gags, he agreed. When we got back to the dock, I was the first one off the boat. I said nothing before speeding off to the parking lot. I jumped in the car and just wrapped myself in a towel and cried. About 15 minutes later, my boyfriend strolled up and got in the car. He asked me if I was seriously still crying. I didn't respond. "I pulled you out. What more did you want me to do?" he asked me. I told him that he should have stood up to Peter more and comforted me while I was sat throwing up water and crying. He said I overreacted and ruined the day. I told him to take me home. I didn't want to be near him. When he dropped me off, I told him we were done, and he's been blowing up my phone ever since. When I answered, he didn't once apologize, and again told me I was overreacting. I told him I no longer felt safe with him, and I hung up. My parents and sister told me I did the right thing, but I have a couple of friends who have told me that breaking up with him was an extreme reaction, especially since he wasn't the one who actually threw me in the water. I realize I may have been too hasty in my decision, but I really don't know if I can trust him anymore. Should I try to give him another chance? Now in the comments, he just showed you how much your feelings mean to him and that he can't be trusted. He allowed his friends to exploit your fear and then just shrugged it off. The most worrying part is how he's shifting the blame to you and refuses to even apologize after you leave him. This is not a man you should be with at all. He is not safe for you in any sense of the word. And OP replies, exactly. Really, if he had no idea Peter was going to do that, I understand he couldn't have done anything to prevent it, but the fact he hasn't apologized and is even mad at me for embarrassing and breaking up with him, I just can't understand. Because he cares more about his friends and looking good in front of them. Your fear was their entertainment. These are not empathetic individuals. They don't care about you. This was about intimidation and violence and denying your humanity. This was a test to see whether you would stand up for yourself or whether they could hurt you in other ways. Please don't give them another opportunity to prove what absolute garbage human beings they are. Absolutely not. I can't believe he really didn't do anything about that. OP says, honestly, I couldn't either. He's usually very caring and attentive, so it was definitely out of the norm for him. If you would have asked me before what I thought he would do in a situation like this, I would have said that he would have thrown Peter in the water in retaliation. The whole thing just made me see him in a different light, and I didn't like it. Honestly, people rescue complete strangers who appear to be drowning in water. The fact that they threw you overboard and did absolutely nothing is horrifying. They seem completely devoid of empathy and humanity. They only pulled you back in for selfish reasons. Anyone who deliberately puts someone in harm's way deserves to be alone. I'm glad you made it out in one piece and that you weren't severely injured. Get as far away from them as you can. And OP says, thank you. I actually said the same thing to my ex on the way home while we were arguing. I told him he did nothing a complete stranger and lifeguard wouldn't do and was definitely not acting like a concerned boyfriend. He told me that I was being crazy, and he should be the one upset that I had embarrassed him in front of Peter and his other friends. That was really the moment I knew that I was breaking up with him. I was just so shocked he didn't care at all. You made the right decision. Block him everywhere and move on. This shit's traumatizing. And now, onto the update. Wow, I did not expect the response I got from my original post. My post got frozen and I wasn't able to respond to many questions or give an update, so I just wanted to hop back on and let everyone who's interested know what happened after the post. Let's start with some common questions. 1. Is this story fake? No, it's not, but I wish it was. 2. Did my boyfriend know Peter was going to do that ahead of time? I don't think so, and that hadn't even crossed my mind until reading some of your comments. 3. Why did I even go on the boat in the first place if I was so scared? I went because my boyfriend made it clear it was important to him. I did suggest meeting up with him for lunch or dinner instead, and he could have a boys' day on the boat without me, but he didn't like that plan. I gave in because I wanted to be a good girlfriend and get along with his best friend. I know a lot of you were suggesting to block him on everything and immediately go no contact, but that just wasn't something I was comfortable with. I messaged him and asked him if we could meet up to exchange our things and have a conversation about what happened. He agreed, and we met in a public park yesterday. When he walked up, he looked super sad and actually had tears in his eyes when he handed me a box of my things. I was actually shocked to see him so upset, since he's been digging his heels in the last couple of weeks, telling me this was all my fault. I had prepped myself for a fight, but that's not what I got. I handed him a box of his things too, and when he started to go through it, he started to full-on cry. At this point, I was also getting emotional because I really hate to hurt anyone else's feelings, and I didn't like seeing him so upset. But I tried to remember how much he had hurt me with this situation to keep strong. I asked him to take a seat with me at one of the picnic tables to talk, and he agreed. I asked him why he was now showing these emotions after 3 weeks, and he told me he didn't think I'd really follow through with the breakup, and it just became real to him when he was packing up my things. I asked him what about the way he had acted would make me want to continue dating him, and he immediately apologized for how he handled the whole thing, and told me he wished he could take it all back. He said he had no idea Peter was going to do that to me, but he also didn't think it was that big of a deal in the moment. He said he didn't rush to comfort me or confront Peter because he didn't want to cause more of a scene and embarrass me even more than I already was. I told him it was embarrassing to have a boyfriend not even care that I was panicking right in front of him. He said he gets that he should have been more comforting. I told him what really hurt the most was how much he's been blaming me and telling me I was the one who ruined the day when Peter was the one who crossed my clear boundary. He said that he talked to Peter and told him that he was in the wrong and he should never do anything like that again if he wants to keep my boyfriend as a friend. He apologized again for the situation, and I told him I appreciate the apology and forgive him. He asked if we could get back together, which I did consider honestly, but at the end of the day, that trust has been broken, and I don't think it can be rebuilt. I told him that, and said he needs to make sure he respects his next girlfriend's boundaries more than he respected mine. He cried some more, but told me he understood, and asked if we can still be friends. I told him I would still need some more time, but maybe some months down the road we could try and be friends. We hugged, and then left separately, and that was that. I'm also going to be talking with my friends, who minimized my reaction to see if there is anything worth saving there, but one step at a time. Thank you all again for the advice and kind words. I can't thank you enough. You all made me feel strong, and I really needed that. And now in the comments, Homeboy really had no shame at admitting to you that he had zero concern for your emotions, just as long as he didn't have to face any consequences. But the second he didn't feel so great, all of a sudden he regrets it? You were right to turn him down. I would think very seriously about whether you wanted a person like this as a friend. Seriously, like, why did I gaslight you, belittle your needs, and defend my friend for assaulting you? Well, because I thought I was going to get away with it. Zero remorse. I think you made the right call. He wasn't sorry when it happened. He wasn't sorry through 3 weeks of arguing and blaming you. He wasn't sorry until there were actual consequences for him. He even told you himself. He kept arguing because he didn't take you seriously. A relationship isn't sustainable when the only thing that gets your partner to respect your feelings is breaking up. Not to mention, respecting your feeling would need to be more than just apologizing. I think he'd have needed to talk to Peter and draw a boundary there to undo the damage he did by invalidating your feelings in front of Peter. Otherwise, in the long term, Peter would have continued to treat you badly because your boyfriend set a precedent that that's okay. And based on his behavior, I don't think he'd ever have done it. Yup, he didn't care about OP's feelings at all. He cares only about his own. The OP dumping him for his bad behavior makes him feel bad about himself. He still doesn't care how his actions made the OP feel. Just block him now. He is not going to be a good friend, you know that already. I think you also need to dump those friends, too, since they are going to be making excuses and downplaying the entire seriousness of what happened, just like your ex did, while not bothering to realize that they all had the one chance to show empathy and sympathy to you, a person that nearly drowned in the ocean. I think you should also reconsider ever being friends with your ex in the future, especially if Pete is still in his life months later, as that shows that he is more forgiving and tolerant of Pete's actions than of you dumping him of beyond justified grounds. The more I think about it, the more it makes me angry. Aside from preying on her fears and risking her safety, he had no idea if she could even swim. This guy barely met someone, and literally his first interaction with her was to put his hands on her against her will and physically assault her. Who would want to be friends with that? Yeah, like, what sort of asshole throws someone they just met in the water? Even if she weren't afraid of it, that's just an incredibly crap move to do to someone you just met. Right? What a fucking idiotic way of making a first impression. If he's like this with people he doesn't know, I can't imagine how much of a douchebag he is towards his friends. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole if I cancel Christmas because I can't afford it this year?" Title says it all. Sole provider for family, all credit cards maxed, negative bank balance, upcoming missed payments until my next paycheck, basically destitute for the foreseeable future. My wife and I usually decorate on Black Friday, but this year I don't want to. The thought of putting up our fake tree, knowing that I'll have nothing to put under it, fills me with such a mix of shame, anger, and pain. I would prefer to just let December pass and cut out as many things as I can until I get my finances under control. Plus, my daughter is 2. She won't even know, care, or even remember one missed Christmas. So, am I the asshole? I'm already a failure as a husband and a father, so what would you say here? And now in the comments, info. Have you talked to your wife about this? Christmas isn't about presents. It's a time you should spend with your family. Find the joy in that. And OP says, yes, my wife was the one to call me today to inform me that we were officially broke. I mentioned cancelling Christmas to save money, and she initially agreed, only to sit and cry through dinner, making me feel worse. I think no assholes here. For years after my mum died, I just couldn't pick myself up to decorate or have a tree. Sometimes life kicks you and reminds you, frequently. I have a friend, and our gift to each other every year is the gift of no gifts. No stressing or shopping, just a small slice of peace with one less person to shop for. I would offer that to your wife. Write her a note with all the ways she makes your day better, and see if one of those Secret Santa subs can get your daughter a gift or two. It's okay to feel down. It will get better. Put up what you have, and make a good memory with your family. Then when you think about this year, you'll have that as your go-to memory. You're the asshole. But not for any reasons I've seen here. You are incredibly empathetic and seem very logical and reasonable about your situation, except for one key thing. You need to move. By the sounds of it, you live in DC or some other crazy high cost of living area and you can't keep up and it's not your fault. Unless you have a salary that supports living in a high cost of living area, you don't stay. This isn't ever going to solve itself even if she starts working. You are still maxed out and the kids won't miraculously get significantly cheaper. My guess is things were comfortable, yet tight, when she was bringing in that additional $20,000 each year. Now it's been 3 years on your salary, probably about $70,000, and you are learning that you have overextended, due in part to unplanned occurrences that you aren't entirely to blame for. Everyone throwing barbs out about you having kids are mostly a bunch of 18-year-olds who have never worked a day in their life or thought of someone other than themselves ever. Don't listen to them. Look at yourself though, and stop throwing blame anywhere. It is not your fault, it is not your health insurance deductible's fault, it is not your incoming son's fault. Instead, focus on what you can control, mainly location and cost of living. It's not going to be easy. You'll probably need to deliver pizzas at night, which is $1,500 easy a month, and you'll be able to have a nice little $4,000 moving budget by spring. It's not going to be comfortable, and it'll suck not being there for your wife and son, but the alternative is a lifetime of this manic pain. And OP replies, "This is creepy accurate. My salary is the reason I can't accept anyone's gifts. I shouldn't be broke, and I certainly shouldn't need handouts at my level. But ever since my wife stopped bringing in her pay, the debt has just crept, and now I'm actually broke. My salary and DJ gigs cover our bills, and we have nothing left over each month. I'm not food insecure or on the verge of defaulting on my mortgage. I just didn't manage my money well and tried to keep up with everyone around me in my admittedly very relatively wealthy suburb of a major metropolitan city. This is entirely my fault, and therefore it is my responsibility to fix it. I took the first step and moved into a smaller, cheaper home in a lower cost area a bit further from my job. The next hurdle is going to be tackling the credit card debt. I've spoken to a financial planner, and we're going to meet soon to discuss strategy. I'm still getting blasted with offers of help, which is such a beautiful thing, but I've gotten the real help I needed. Perspective. No assholes here. There is nothing wrong with scaling back your holiday because of financial problems. Put your daughter's name on a list at a social agency for a gift. The Angel Tree or something similar. Keep an eye out and ear out for various charities that give away turkeys and other ingredients for a holiday meal. Financial problems happen, and there is nothing to be ashamed of, but don't completely cancel everything. It is just not necessary. This year, concentrate on spending time together as a family instead of on gifts and buying things. Put the tree up, listen to music if you like it, and enjoy your daughter and her sense of excitement that comes from colored lights. And now back up to the post. This has spun out of control. I never thought my sad man pity party would get this kind of response. I was expecting to be called an asshole, validate my self-loathing, and claw my way out of debt by working harder. I did not expect the absolute torrent of love and support that I in no way deserve or can accept. Info. And I am so sorry for not making this crystal clear in the original post. Our mortgage and utilities are paid. There is food in our fridge, and my next paycheck or paychecks is secure, even though it too will all go to bills with none left over for gifts. I pretended not to notice that we weren't keeping up our pre-child lifestyle without credit cards, and I got in over my head and now have to dig myself out of a relatively deep hole, meaning I won't have any money for gifts and meals out and holiday gatherings and whatnot for a good bit of time to come. But I have a great job and an outstanding family support system who all live close by and know what debt feels like and will understand if we can't chip in this year with anything but our presence. But it just felt shameful to have the advantages I have and still manage to F it up as bad as I did without asking for help. As for all the people begging me to accept help, here's why I can't. I make a good salary, there is no chance of me or my family going hungry. We have food, and will have money for food budgeted into my paychecks, which are secure as my job is secure. I have an extremely well-funded 401k from 18 years of office work and life insurance to safeguard my family. Thank you all who were offering food. Thank you all who offered to buy my 2-year-old's Amazon wishlist. She is 2 and does not have one. My wife and I already decided that she has too many toys, and so we had only things like books and a learning tablet in mind for her. She'll be okay if we can't buy her stuff. She already has stuff. Her close-in-age cousins live on our street, and we exchange toys and clothes all the time, and both our houses are cluttered with stuff. This was not about garnering pity or soliciting charity. It was my insecurity equating gifts with love that warped Christmas for me. It almost ruined Christmas for me. Regardless of the vote here, I truly am the asshole for that. So please turn your charity to your communities, your neighbors, not some middle-class jagoff who spent himself into debt trying to prove how much he loved a family that only needed him to be a happy and healthy presence at home. You all have humbled me beyond words, beyond charity. You have given me both the perspective and the courage to seek professional help, both financial and psychological. And hopefully it's not too late for this stupid old man to become a better father and husband. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. His spirit is truly embodied in all of you beautiful and selfless Redditors. Never lose the light, love and cheer to all. But as you can see, I deserve neither of your charity nor your goodness, and I am going to go disappear back into anonymity now if possible and work on me. Update for those concerned, I have not ever, even for a second, considered hurting myself. Not once. I'm showing my age here, but Goonies never say die. Update for info, and I hope this answers all the questions people had, as there were many, and so I'm just going to write a bio that answers them all. I live in the mid-Atlantic United States. When we got pregnant, after 6 years of trying and failing and treatments and tears, we found out that it would cost us $50 a month for my wife to work her current job and put our daughter in full-time daycare, as daycare costs upwards of $1,600 a month for even local co-ops, to say nothing of the $2,100 plus that most daycare companies were asking. The solution was for her to retire and take up the even harder job of full-time mother. I work 8 to 5 at a day job, and I pick up shifts DJing at a local bar at night and DJ private events and weddings, etc. when I can book them. My daughter was about to turn 2 and be able to start 3-day-a-week preschool for far less than the cost of a 5-day-a-week daycare, meaning my wife could start work again, at least part-time. I was in the referral process to find a surgeon to do my vasectomy when we found out that despite using birth control, my wife was pregnant again. We are due in February, a little boy this time. Utter shock, disbelief, some truly unhealthy thoughts, and finally acceptance that I was going to have to continue to be the full-time provider, as there was no way we could put 2 kids in full-time care, so once again, my sainted wife will have to spend at least another 2 years as a full-time mum. My wife and I are old people, 42 male, 40 female, who tried to have kids earlier in life, but couldn't despite multiple treatments, and only succeeded when we stopped trying so hard and resigned ourselves to the thoughts of a comfortable dual income, no kids lifestyle full of travel and memories. Bringing one life into this world at 40 after everything we went through was a laugh, only for life to turn around and bless me with a second child. My wife is overjoyed, and I am happy, but terrified of how I will afford this. She applied for part-time seasonal work to help with our bills, but the job she was hired for has given her exactly 2 shifts in 2 weeks and taken one of those shifts away at the last minute due to overstaffing. She has a meeting with them today to find out if it's worth her time to stay employed there, dependent on if they can actually give her, at the least, 20 hours a week, which she requested upon applying. We have had joint finances since we were engaged. We don't hide things from each other. We are both well aware of our money issues and have been working on ways to improve our financial situation. We have and will keep communication open. It was our promise made to each other 13 years ago to never shoulder our burdens alone. Lastly, I am humbled by your offers for charity, dear strangers. Truly and deeply humbled. I cannot accept them, be it out of foolish pride or some other moral driver, but know that your kind words and even kinder offers have softened my resolve to cancel Christmas this year. I just spent 2 days with co-workers volunteering at 2 local food banks preparing meals, clothes, and groceries for the community. So if you are one of the many wonderful strangers who offered help, please give that help to your local charity. I still have a roof over my head and food in my belly, and I could not ask for more, not when I have so much already. I still dread the thought of lugging that old fake tree out of the laundry room, but my feelings have to come third, here and always. My wife and daughter need the love and joy that that old tree will bring, and I need to give them everything I can, even if it's just the spirit of the season. They deserve to feel the warmth of a festive home, and we already own the damn thing, so it's literally the least I can do. My present will be the 1 million pictures my wife will take of our daughter pulling all the ornaments she can reach off the tree and showing them to her with that beautiful smile she has. Our families are close by, and our parents will no doubt do their best to spoil our daughter, and I know it will be more than enough. And now on to the final update. So it's been 2 weeks, and somehow the messages are still coming in. Thankfully, the offers of charity have stopped. He is hoping they were redirected to their communities, but a good deal of them asking whether or not I stopped being a Grinch and started being a good husband and father again. So, to get those people placated first, here you go. I decorated. I also spoke with a financial advisor who is helping me set up a budget for 2020, and a counselor who helped me realize that I was worth more than the goods I could offer someone. She recommended 2 separate therapists to me, and neither are taking new patients before the new year, so for now, my wife and I are working on our budget and cleaning out various corners of the house for things to sell. So far, we have gotten rid of some of the unused basement furniture, a mini fridge that has been empty for 2 years, a bunch of wine racks and paraphernalia. We don't drink at home since the baby was born 2 years ago, so no need to keep it around. As well as some other things, and made about $750. More than enough to pay all the overdue bills, put some money in savings, and groceries in the cupboard. It's going to be a long road ahead to pay off this credit card debt, but we are finally addressing the issue head on and moving in the right direction. Since my last paycheck, that covered mortgage and utilities, no worries there for those who asked if I was behind, thank you. I have also been offered and taken 3 DJ gigs for holiday parties, 2 for personal friends and acquaintances' businesses, 1 for a charity. I refused payment for the children's charity gig, instead offering to give the money right back to the kids instead, which was gratefully accepted by the organizer. The extra cash from the 2 paying gigs paid down some more debt, and was enough left over to allow me to have bought some nice new books and a Moana doll for my little girl to open on Christmas morning, to say nothing of the bags of presents from both sets of grandparents full of clothes and toys, so she'll be fine from a present standpoint. Inspired by everyone's offers of charity, I volunteered again at Paul's Place in Baltimore, where this time I donned the hairnet and apron and served hot meals. Cell phones are prohibited inside, plus taking photos of yourself doing charity work defeats the purpose of said work. I also organized a food drive at my office to provide meal kits for Christmas for needy families, and we were able to donate 574 pounds of food to the MD Food Bank. Thank you to all who reached out and made me realize that I really was an asshole. I let my personal shortcomings almost ruin a holiday for my wife and child. It won't be as fancy as our last Christmases, but I have a feeling that this year will be very special to me, no matter how little is under my tree. I realized that I have all the gifts I need, and I cannot thank the beautiful people who offered up so much charity to a grumpy stranger. I didn't need to accept your gifts to accept your love, and the offers alone changed my life. Happy holidays, y'all. Happiest of holidays from a fellow Baltimorean. I bet your little ones would love a walk through 34th Street to see all the lights too. This is a wonderful post, and I'm so glad your holiday will be special. You are worthy of it. As another Baltimorean, I 100% support this idea, especially since they now shut down the block so you can walk around without the worry of cars driving through. On the one hand, so wholesome. On the other, looking at the timeline, OP was just getting their crap together when COVID hit. New baby, plus isolation, plus money troubles, plus pandemic. I hope they're all still doing okay. I had the same thought. Oh man, just after February is when things went bad for everyone, and I hope they made it through okay. Alright, and that's where I'm going to finish today's story, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you later. Bye.